Hey, War Pugs. Old man here. Just giving y'all a little bit of an update on Sassy. So, she is just a chongus right now. Look at this. Hold on. I will try to lift her up. She is getting very big. She is getting very chunky. So, we're all waiting. We're all waiting right now. Can't wait to see what happens. Ain't that right? You're such a good girl. Now, you may hear in the next few weeks, because she's going to be staying in here with me. Yes, she is. You're going to be staying in here with Daddy. You may hear sounds of, well, pugs being pugs. Like, very loud pug noises. And that's because, when, like, Sassy right now is getting, she's about 3 weeks from term, and about this time they start getting really, really hot. They start running really, really hot, so you want to keep them as cool as possible. So, you're going to hear her panting a little bit and things like that, but she is just a chuckle. Yes, you are beautiful. You are beautiful. Yes, you are. But she's going to be, you're probably going to hear breathing in the background, stuff like that, making pug noises, but she's okay. It's just during this time, she starts running really hot. This is the coldest room in the house. That's why we decided on doing that down, having her back here with me. And I don't think you guys would mind seeing her. I don't think you guys mind seeing her at all. But, I've been keeping the air conditioner going back here. She's got everything set up back here for her, and yeah, she's gonna be back here. So, if you guys are wondering what the sounds have been in the background, it's been the Chungus, and she has got some puppies for us soon, which is going to be so great because she's a great mama dog. She is a great mama dog, and yeah, that's about the update on that. So I'm going to set her down, just so you guys aren't wondering, what's that noise in the background? It's her. It's her. So I'm going to give this update in a couple of things, just to let everybody know, because I know not everybody watches everything. Everybody has their interests, and that's what I like to pursue. Everybody has their own interests. And that's what this channel is to me. It's interest, it's hobbies and things like that. And I thought, considering she's down there licking her one of her bowls, I thought, and for the sake of that, I would check out something today from Halo. In fact, it's the most requested video on the entire Discord right now. And this is the Primordial's Horrific Secret. And this is lore and theory. What? Oh my god. That's just... She's just down there licking a bowl. I don't understand my own pug. Alright, here we go. The Primordial's Horrific Secret. Now, this is done by Installation00. I used to enjoy a lot of things by them. It's been a while since I delved into any kind of Halo lore. And I just figured it was about time I dipped my toe back into that entire arena. So, let's go, Warpugs. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Hey. Hey. Am I going to have to take that bowl from you? You're carrying it in your mouth. Here, bring it to me. Bring it to me. You don't want to bring it to me? There's nothing in it. Hold on. Let me get that bowl from her. Hey. You want some more? You want some more of this? Huh? You want some more of that? There's nothing in there. You can have some more of that tomorrow. Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you can pig out. That's my job. I'm a fat guy. Gotta watch your weight. I monitor everything with you. Oh my goodness. So, sorry about that. I'm gonna shut up. Let's get into it. Oh my god.
Around 106,000 BCE, a creature was discovered by ancient humanity on a small planetoid near the very edge of the galaxy. The creature was found to be hibernating within a stasis capsule of Precursor design. The decision was made to move the creature within its capsule to the ancient human capital of Charum-Hakor, where effort was made to revive the creature.
That's a mouthful.
A time lock or temporal stasis field was placed upon the creature's capsule as a precautionary measure. Despite the advanced nature of the Precursor technology, the ancient human researchers, led by Precursor, managed to find a way to communicate with the being. They would ask it questions in hope of gaining a greater understanding of the mysteries of the universe. In the vast majority of cases, the creature's responses were confused or unintelligible, revealing precious little information to the ancient humans. However, when asked about the nature of the flood, the creature spoke clearly and concisely.
The flood are just one of those things that bears a lot more for me to learn about. Timeline-wise, the whole 9 yards wise, really.
The answers it gave to the humans were so paradigm-shattering and so utterly horrific that many of the humans who heard the answer committed suicide.
Okay. The Primordia's horrific secret. Let's go.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation00. This is Law and Theory, and today we explore a theory that may reveal what the Primordials said to the ancient humans that was so horrific that many of them killed themselves. The theory was brought to my attention by Nonsensical Rants, a member of my Discord server, and it created waves across the server and got a lot of people very interested in the subject at hand.
If you are interested in joining the Discord, it is down below. Mine and his.
After being inspired by his post, I decided to build on it a little and present it to you for your decisions. These kinds of ideas and theories are very common in my Discord server, and it's full of epic people with awesome ideas about the deeper, darker aspects of Halo lore. So if you're into that kind of stuff, be sure to jump into the server and get involved. Link is in the description. So, what was it that the Primordial told ancient humans that was so terrible, so disgusting that it drove these hyper-advanced humans to commit suicide? Well, in order to answer that, we need to recap on a few aspects of the ancient lore.
Okay.
Our story starts with the Precursors. The Precursors were an ancient, highly advanced race that originated outside of the Milky Way and arrived in the galaxy billions of years ago. They were so advanced that they had achieved the Forerunner technological level of Tier 0 or Transcendent. The beings known as the Precursors arrived in the Milky Way galaxy as creators and caretakers billions of years ago, dreamers and makers whose minds transcended many realms. The Precursors seeded uncountable worlds with the building blocks of life, built cyclopean laboratories made of crystallized reality, forged roads through alternate dimensions to link their great works, and then began a grand experiment to create and uplift new sentient species. Their ultimate goal is unknowable, but the Precursors' actions were guided by the mantle of responsibility, a philosophy and set of ethical rules that compelled them to protect and preserve diversity of life ahead of their own self-interest.
Oh.
Before they vanished, the Precursors reshaped the galaxy with tools of metal, flesh, and energy that were linked across space and time using neural physics, a transcendent science incomprehensible to lesser minds.
Now, one thing about the flood that I haven't heard mentioned yet. Now, the Tyranids of 40K, there's a really good chance they were biologically engineered, because when they attack species, whenever they assimilate species into themselves, they keep part of the genetic code of that species. They keep copies of those genetic codes. So the Tyranid Hive fleet is quite literally a seed bank. It's really weird.
The Precursor sailed between worlds in vessels guided by knowledge engines, but also walked on star roads, bridges of unbreakable filaments that wove in and out of the deepest layers of slipspace. With boundless intellect and patience, millions of solar systems were re-engineered by the Precursors and populated with what would eventually, after eons of growth, tending, and evolution, become new tools and companions. The Precursors believed that the universe itself was an animate entity on a vastly different scale and nature than organic beings, the very foundation of neural physics. Through understanding and influencing this esoteric living aspect of space-time, the Precursors were able to manipulate reality and form virtually indestructible objects. In a notion echoed in the Forerunner concept of living time, they believed that all things experienced by life, good or ill, were only sweetness to the living universe. Consistent with these tenets, the Precursors wished to experience the hardships and struggles faced by all life firsthand by committing themselves to numerous cycles of evolution, technological advancement, death, and rebirth over and over again.
Okay.
On a side note, keep in mind that the Forerunners inherited or forcibly stole their beliefs and the mantle of responsibility from the Precursors, yet the Precursors believed prosperity and suffering were equally acceptable and a sweetness to the living universe, while the Forerunners believed that all life should be protected and experience nothing but peace, even if it was an enforced imperial peace.
Yeah.
So keep in mind these differences in their beliefs.
The tyranny of... So, there is... One of my favorite series of all times, Dragonlance, had one character that was lawful good, that wound up imposing a tyranny of good, pretty much. Which, in and of itself, can be a bad thing, because then you have Puritans, you have all this other kind of stuff that just flat out pursues absolute purity in the face of everything else. And he calls it the destruction of the world, pretty much. It is what it is. Let's go.
When the Forerunners rose up against the Precursors, despite being hugely more advanced than the Forerunners and capable of simply moving beyond their reach, they allowed huge swathes of their kind to be exterminated by the Forerunners. Because the experience of this hardship and struggle was as important to the living universe as was times of joy and peace.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
So they served the universe these experiences through their own suffering to further the living universe's experience of existence. Whether they saw this living universe as a separate entity to be somewhat worshipped, or they had advanced to a state that the Precursor and living universe were entangled and one and the same thing, or that the Precursors were literally a physical manifestation of the living universe, is utterly unclear. But what is clear is that the Precursors would do anything necessary to allow the living universe to continue to experience all of life's good and bad aspects. Anything experienced by a consciousness would ultimately benefit the living universe and enrich its experience.
That belief system is a little bit crazy, but at the same time, who am I to judge? There's one thing, like, everything needs to be experienced. Everyone needs to experience everything. The universe needs to experience everything, but at the same time, what you're doing there is you're handing the keys to the galaxy to a species that has no problem genociding you. That's never a good idea.
Following their defeat at the hands of the Forerunners over 10 million years ago, many of the remaining Precursors transmuted themselves into organic particles. They broke themselves down spontaneously into a powder or dust, that would reconstitute their original forms, themselves highly variable, at a later time. Over the millions of years that followed the Precursor's fall, this powder degraded and became defective. Instead of reforming the Precursors as they used to be, it instead resulted in misshapen life forms that ravenously assimilated biomatter they came into contact with, the earliest stages of the Flood parasite. The Flood eventually evolved into the forms we know of, their biology and method of reproduction making them utterly incompatible with any possible ecosystem. They infect, mutate, and absorb any biomass they come into contact with. The Flood selectively targets species that possess sentient intelligence and are of sufficient biomass. Pod infectors use tendrils that pierce the skin of the host and find their way to the spinal cord. They then synchronize with the host's nervous system and gain control of their body. Any useful information present within the memory centers of the host's brain, such as battle strategies and technical knowledge, is retained for use by the Flood. Despite this lingering of certain memories, no trace of the original mind remains. Only a simplistic and primal urge to assimilate other species drives the organism after infection. However, the entirety of the host's mental content is seemingly absorbed and added to the whole, as the Gravemind has shown to be able to simulate its victim's consciousness within itself. In isolated cases, such as when the Flood seek very specific information from an individual's mind, they utilize an alternate method of infestation that does not subdue the host's consciousness immediately, despite mutating their physical form. This allows the Flood to burrow into the host's mind, eventually giving them access to the entire scope of the host's memories. This has only been specifically seen when the Flood sought information from Captain Jacob Keyes, such as the location of Earth or a starship that could free them from Installation 04. Pursuant to their goals of assimilating life and absorbing knowledge and experience, the Flood, in its more coordinated stage, would employ the use of misdirection, lies, deceit, manipulation. It would feign cooperation and work towards common goals, and even fight alongside beings it would normally have consumed or destroyed to further its own ideals.
That cutscene still gives me hives. The cutscene where you come across Keyes while he's struggling to remember who he is, he's struggling to maintain control. That cutscene in and of itself was one of the more disturbing things that I saw out of Halo. Second, my computer monitors are kicking on over here. I must have nudged them.
The ultimate endgame of the Flood can thus far only be assumed and speculated upon. However, when you start looking at the Flood as less of a parasite and more like what they actually are, or rather were, and then bring in the variable of the living universe, things begin to make an uncomfortable sense. So when asked about the Flood, what was it that the Primordial, a precursor itself and the herald of the Flood, said to our hyper-advanced ancient ancestors that pushed them to commit suicide? What if the Flood are not corrupted precursors? What if the Flood are the precursors? It is possible that the Flood are not a corrupted form of precursor at all. They are the precursors exactly as they were. It's clear that the precursors and Flood both have many different physical forms. It is clear they both seek the knowledge, consciousness, and experience of life forms. The precursors and their belief and entangled relationship with the living universe may genuinely mean they are simply a physical manifestation of the living universe. A way of the universe as an entity to experience existence directly. When the precursors came to the galaxy, they seeded life on countless worlds. Life that would advance and develop and experience. If the Flood and the precursor are the same thing, the return and consumption of all life would integrate that experience, the joys and the suffering of life, into the precursors. And if the precursors are a physical manifestation of the living universe, this would transmit these sweetnesses back to the universe and continue to enrich it. This becomes all the more eerie when you consider these quotes from the Primordial taken from the Forerunner trilogy of books. Work, fight, live, all the sweeter. Mind after mind will shape and absorb. In the end, all will be quiet with wisdom.
This puts a whole new twist on things, and it actually makes a good bit of sense from the limited knowledge that I have of Halo lore, because everything that they are said to encompass, the Flood also does, but it does it from a different viewpoint than we're used to looking at it from. It does it from an entirely different stance, experience. Oh my, okay.
There is only truth. That which is done will be done again, for we cannot cease from creating. But the end of all our creation will be to look into a reflection and see ourselves for the first time. The pain we have brought on ourselves, the pain you caused us, for we are the same. All remember the defiance and destruction. We are the Flood. There is no difference. Until all space and time are rolled up and life is crushed in the folds, no end to war, grief, or pain. In 101,000 centuries, unity again, and wisdom. Until then, sweetness.
And it would make sense for them to do for the actual Flood itself to seed life throughout the galaxy and then come back by and harvest it later, like sowing crops.
My future is your past. Think on it and accept. That is the answer. The Flood, the Precursors, the living universe, they are all the same thing. They are just different names for different stages of a process. The living universe is the ultimate and gave rise to the Precursors as a physical manifestation of itself. The Precursors seed life within galaxies and allow them to advance and experience. The Flood consume that life and reintegrate that experience back into the living universe. When asked about the Flood, the Primordial told the humans that life, all of existence, is a means of the universe experiencing itself. The universe made the Precursors seeded life, the Flood end that life. The universe is enriched as a consequence. Humanity was seeded, nurtured, allowed to advance, built histories, poetry, arts, science, experienced, expanded, raised like cattle, to be consumed, and our experiences to be fed to the universe as sustenance, over and over again. They seed us, raise us, leave us to grow, then return to feast upon our knowledge, joy, suffering, experience, and after they've finished digesting the collective information gathered,
They
store it within the domain, an expression of the living universe itself, wipe the slate clean, and seed life once more. Remember the differences in the ideals of the Forerunners and the Precursors? 10 million years ago, the Forerunners figured it out. They found the Precursor's secret, and they were so disgusted by that discovery, they waged war and slaughtered any they could find. They successfully freed the entire galaxy of the Precursors, and as a safeguard against them, took up the mantle of responsibility and endeavoured to protect all life.
Now, okay, so this theory is making way too much sense. This theory is making way too much sense and puts a whole darker tinge on everything. So basically, all the life in the Milky Way galaxy was put down in order to be quite literally reaped later. Oh my God.
To quote the Didact,
"We are Forerunners, guardians of all that exists. The roots of the galaxy have grown deep under our careful tending. Where there is life, the wisdom of our countless generations has saturated the soil. Our strength is a luminous sun towards which all intelligence blossoms, and the impervious shelter beneath which it has prospered."
But wait, I hear you say, We've been told otherwise by both the Primordial and the Gravemind, and even the Forerunners themselves. Yes, while that may be true, the Primordial and the Gravemind are both forms of the Flood, and the Flood are known to lie and manipulate.
True.
And they, by transfersion of property, are also the Precursors, which means it's not surprising that they wouldn't be doing the same. And as for the Forerunners telling that information, the Forerunners forgot their own history over the 10 million years that spanned between them killing the Precursors and the events around the firing of the array. The Forerunners found the truth and destroyed the Precursors to protect all life in the galaxy. Unfortunately, knowledge of this event gradually faded over time. Despite being stored in the domain has a will of its own, and although it is understood to be Precursor in design, the Flood can also access it. So it's reasonable to assume so can the living universe. All the records of these events, these truths, would have been gradually erased, pushed down into the deepest, darkest parts of the domain so that no entity connected to it would ever find it. Lies would be told and offered up in exchange to inaccurately retell the events of the past to better hide the truth. Over the 10 million years that have passed since the Forerunner Precursor War, all knowledge was forgotten. Until ancient humanity discovered the Primordial on the edge of the galaxy and asked it a question that would reveal a truth so horrifying: suicide was a better option. And so the cycle continues.
No more what you were. Memories. Emotions. All is now ours.
Nah, we're good.
Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below. I really look forward to what you have to say on this one. Again, big shout out to Nonsensical Rants, who actually posed this theory in the first instance.
It's a really good one.
And be sure to get over to the Discord to become part of the community where we throw ideas around like this a lot. I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons, Neek, the Silent Card.
Warpugs. Wow. I love theory crafting. I love theory crafting because theory crafting can help you put together things that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to put together. I do a fair amount of theory crafting when I do my lore videos. I always try to point out that what I'm doing is theory crafting, or this is just a guess or a supposition, something of that nature. I always like to let people know. But it's really fun to theory craft, and I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting there going, well, this would be happening this way. In fact, the Morning Iron Guard video has a little bit of theory crafting in it because, quite frankly, they don't tell us some things, and those are things that we need to know. If this is just the way things are, truly, then it's actually really disturbing and really well thought out. Because at this point, life... Are you making pug noises? At this point, life is not in the slightest a spontaneous event that happens and, you know, blah, 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 here we are. We're literally sown into the ground like grain to be harvested. That's disturbing. Warpugs, this was Installation00. Leave a like, a comment, and a comment, you know, just say something. Talk about my pug, talk about the cat that's currently harassing me over here. You can see her paw right here. Look at this. This thing. Come here, you. This angry thing. Look up. Look how angry you are. Why? I'm heading out. All of Installation00's links are in the description down below, right next to my own. I'll catch you, Warpugs, next time. And for your listening pleasure, Pug ASMR. Hold on. Come here. Come here, you. Come here. Oh. 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 Okay. Ready? Alright, here we go. Pug ASMR. I'm an idiot.